They had it all: fame, fans, and fortune. Some were dominating Hollywood box offices, others were household names on primetime television. But then, in what seemed like a plot twist straight out of a movie, they walked away. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Some chased childhood dreams, others followed unexpected passions, and a few risked it all for something no one saw coming. This isn't just about actors taking up new hobbies or launching side hustles. This is about major career shifts, bold, dramatic moves from the screen to the stage or into entirely new arenas. So buckle up, because the journey from celebrity to something else is more surprising and inspiring than you might think. When Rick Moranis starred in Ghostbusters and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, he was at the top of his game. Quirky, funny, and endlessly charming, he was a favorite across generations. Then he disappeared. No scandals, no drama, just gone. The reason? After his wife passed away from cancer in 1991, Moranis chose to step away from Hollywood to raise his children as a single father. In an era where fame often comes before family, Moranis made the ultimate career shift, choosing fatherhood over film. For years, he rejected major roles, including a potential return in the Ghostbusters reboot. He did voice work here and there, but the limelight didn't call him back. It wasn't until 2020 that he finally returned briefly for a Mint Mobile ad with Ryan Reynolds. But while Moranis chose family, others leapt into entirely new artistic arenas. Take Natalie Portman. She won an Oscar for Black Swan, and she starred in billion-dollar franchises like Thor and Star Wars. But what many don't know is that she's also a Harvard graduate with a degree in psychology. During her career, Portman quietly stepped into directing and producing. In 2015, she directed A Tale of Love and Darkness, an adaptation of Amos Oz's novel. She filmed it in Hebrew, a language she wasn't fluent in Israel, the country she was born in. This wasn't a vanity project, it was a labor of love. She was praised for her boldness, proving that her passion for storytelling went far beyond acting. Then there's Steve Martin. Most know him as a legendary comedian and actor. From The Jerk to Father of the Bride, Martin was everywhere in the 80s and 90s. But in the early 2000s, he made a quiet shift. He started writing novels and, even more surprisingly, focused on playing the banjo, a passion he'd had since his teenage years. In fact, he released several bluegrass albums and even won a Grammy for The Crow, new songs for the 5-string banjo. By 2009, he was touring as a musician, performing at venues like Carnegie Hall. Not bad for someone who used to make people laugh with rubber chickens and arrow through the head gags. But let's talk about someone who left a wildly successful career to completely reinvent herself. Mara Wilson. Remember Matilda, that charming little girl with telekinetic powers who warmed our hearts in the 90s. Wilson was one of the most beloved child stars of her time, with hits like Mrs. Doubtfire and Miracle on 34th Street. But she hated fame. After her mother passed away during the filming of Matilda, the magic of the industry began to fade. By her teens, Wilson had stepped away from acting entirely. She didn't crave the spotlight, she wanted to write. And that's exactly what she did. She became an author, penning Where Am I Now?, a raw, honest memoir about growing up in the industry and finding herself outside of it. She now writes essays, performs in storytelling shows, and has even returned to voice acting, but only on her own terms. Not all transformations were as quiet. Terry Crews, the former NFL player turned actor, is known for his explosive energy in shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine and movies like White Chicks. But few expected him to dive into art. Yes, painting. Long before football or acting, Crews was an art nerd. He won an art scholarship before he ever stepped on a football field. And now he paints, sculpts, and even designed furniture. His paintings have been exhibited, and he's passionate about using art to heal. For Crews, creativity wasn't just a hobby, it was his first love. And then there's Gina Davis, an Oscar winner and star of iconic films like Thelma and Louise and A League of Their Own. Davis didn't just shift careers, she took aim at changing an entire industry. In 2004, she founded the Gina Davis Institute on Gender and Media. Its goal? To fight gender bias and increase the visibility of women in entertainment. Through extensive research and advocacy, her organization has pushed for real, measurable change in how women are portrayed in film and TV. Davis stepped off the screen to become an agent of change, a different kind of lead role. Now let's talk about Kevin Jonas. While his brothers Nick and Joe went on to successful solo music careers after the Jonas Brothers' initial split in 2013, Kevin took a different route. He became A tech entrepreneur. Yes, Kevin founded a real estate development company and even launched an app called Hugh, which helps users find nearby restaurants. He appeared on The Celebrity Apprentice and focused on growing businesses outside of the spotlight. It wasn't until the Jonas Brothers reunited in 2019 that he returned to music, but his time away proved he was more than just a pop star. Speaking of music, did you know Jeff Goldblum leads a jazz band? The Jurassic Park star is also a talented jazz pianist. His band, the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra, has released albums and performs regularly. In fact, their album, The Capitol Studios Sessions, debuted at #1 on the Billboard Jazz Albums chart in 2018. For Goldblum, music isn't a hobby, it's a second career, and he performs with the same quirky charisma that made him a movie icon. But perhaps the most shocking pivot of all came from Cameron Diaz. Once one of the highest paid actresses in Hollywood, Diaz starred in hits like The Mask, There's Something About Mary, and Charlie's Angels. But in 2014, at the height of her fame, she just stopped. She retired from acting and completely shifted her focus. What did she do next? She became an author and health advocate, co-writing books like The Body Book and The Longevity Book, focused on wellness and aging. Later, she launched an organic wine brand called Aveline, promoting clean and transparent ingredients. In 2022, she announced her return to acting for a Netflix movie with Jamie Foxx. But her nearly 8-year hiatus wasn't a break. It was a total lifestyle change. One of the most emotional shifts came from Jack Gleeson, who played King Joffrey on Game of Thrones. After delivering one of the most hated and brilliant villain performances on TV, Gleeson shocked fans by quitting acting altogether. He said he never really enjoyed fame and that he wanted a normal life. He returned to college, got involved in theater in Dublin, and focused on small, experimental stage productions. While he's since returned for select roles, his move away from the spotlight was a statement. Fame isn't everything. Each of these stories reveals a powerful truth. Identity isn't fixed. For celebrities, reinvention isn't just a marketing move. It can be a survival strategy, a return to passion, or a radical act of self-preservation. Whether it's trading scripts for instruments, red carpets for classrooms, or fame for family, these career pivots show that the path to success doesn't have to be straight. Sometimes it zigs, sometimes it zags, and sometimes it ends up somewhere even better. So the next time you see a celebrity fade from the spotlight, don't assume they've disappeared. They might just be starting a whole new chapter, one that's quieter, more creative, and closer to who they really are. If this story opened your eyes to a whole new side of fame, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the most unexpected turns in celebrity history. Thanks for watching, and remember, the spotlight may fade, but true passion never does.